they're saying, I'm a threat to democracy. No, they're a threat. They've weaponized government. They're a threat. But that turned to be like one of their lines, you know, that Trump is a threat. I'm not a threat to democracy at all. They are a threat to democracy, but they would say that. That was a standard line. Just keep saying it. And, you know, that can get assassins or potential assassins going. That's a terrible thing. I used to say, and you fight it, but everybody in the it was a standard line for them. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. I'm just the opposite. I'm the one that fixed our military. I'm the one that knocked out ISIS. I'm the one. I did so much. I also took a bullet. But maybe that bullet is because of their rhetoric. You know, it's really nasty rhetoric. In the Democrat convention, my name was mentioned hundreds of times.
The consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious.
The border was mentioned like once. Inflation wasn't mentioned at all. They barely talked about the economy. They didn't talk about crime at all. They didn't talk about the invasion of our country. You know, we're being invaded by millions of people. This is worse than an army. At least an army, you know how you can fight. We're being invaded. These people are invading. It's an invasion of our country. They didn't talk about that. And yet my name is mentioned like 300 times. She mentioned my name, I guess, 19 times in her speech alone. 19 times.
They demonize you a lot. They make a big deal out of the fact that you said you're only going to have to vote one time.
Yeah.
You, like me, you're only going to have to vote one time ever, or whatever your quote was.
You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
You know why that was? It said, and with a smile, Christians, for whatever reason, don't vote very much, you know, proportionately. NRA people and people that feel very strongly about the Second Amendment, they're not voters. I don't know why. Maybe it's a rebellious streak. And I said to the Christians, we got to win this election. If we win this election, I'll straighten everything out in less than 4 years by a lot. Then you don't have to, it doesn't matter. In other words, I'm saying you don't have to vote. Doesn't mean we're not going to have elections. You're going to have elections, but you have to vote this time because we have to win. This is the most important election in the history of our country. But you're right. They took that. You only have to vote. I say, vote this time. Get us in. Once we're in, we're going to fix the country, and it's not going to be important for you to come, and we're not going to need you voted. But we need the votes now. Christians have to get out and vote. Gun owners don't vote, relatively. They don't vote. And gun owners have to get out and vote.
So you didn't mean vote me in once because I ain't ever leaving. You're meaning this is an important one. Vote this time.
Of course that's what I meant. And I said it, and everybody knows I said it that way. And everybody agrees that I said it that way. I don't know if they have it. I hope they have it on tape, but if they don't, but I've heard they use that a little bit. But what they use a lot was, I'll be a dictator.
Day one, you said, I'll be a dictator for one day.
But they leave that out. And sometimes when they do add it, they don't say why. And I said jokingly on Sean Hannity, who's a great guy, I said, no, Sean, I want to be a dictator for one day because I'm going to get going with drill, baby, drill, and I'm going to strengthen the borders to a level like you've never seen. I only want to be, and after that, I'll never be a dictator. So I said it nicely. I said, one day, because I want to do the energy and I want to strengthen the border, one day. And it was said with a chuckle. The audience laughed, I laughed, we all laughed. But they take it and they cut it. And then they cut it. And it says, I want to be a dictator. These are very dishonest people that we're dealing with. Very dishonest people, bad people.
So you say that was taken out of context?
Well, all you have to do is watch it. I mean, so many things are. Charlottesville was taken out of context.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
You know, Joe Biden says, I ran because of Charlottesville. I saw the veins bulging out of their neck. And they have my statement, which was fine. But if they let the next sentence run, it was perfect. And they know that. They know that. When she spoke, she said, I was going to raise taxes. No, I'm lowering taxes. She said all sorts of things that were false. Everything was false. I think we counted 21 lies. I'm going to save Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security because the millions of people that are pouring in are going on Social Security. Social Security cannot stand it. Whereas I'm leaving Social Security just the way it is. I'm not raising age limits. I'm not doing anything. They're going to destroy it. They're going to destroy Medicare. I mean, more importantly, they're going to destroy our country. If she wins, I don't believe our country has a chance because it's a Marxist ideology. And if you go back 3 or 4 years and you look at her statements, even running for office, she was raising her hand for every bad. You can't have any personal insurance, personal life insurance, or any form of insurance. You have to be in a big government pool. That's Marxism. In other words, if you want to have insurance, you worked hard, you want to pay more and have a great insurance plan, health insurance. She doesn't want you to have that. This was only a few years ago. That's where she's at. Her father is a Marxist professor, and that's where she's at. And our country will never be ready for that. Our country won't be able to have that.
Some people say that this election is going to be determined by 15 counties in 11 states, 11 of them in just 7 states, one of them here in Nevada, where we are right now, one of them in Arizona, Maricopa County, 2 of them in Texas, Tarrant County, where Fort Worth is, where Merritt Street Media is, one of them Fort Bend, Cobb County, so a county in Georgia, a county in Pennsylvania, one in Michigan, because of independents there. If there are independents watching this right now and trying to decide which way to jump off the fence, to the Harris side of the fence or to the Trump side of the fence, what do you say to them to make it clear why they should vote for Donald J. Trump for president in November?
Well, first of all, I'm now leading with independents. You saw that this morning, and by a lot, by like 9 points. That's considered a lot. And for whatever reason, it's harder for a Republican to lead with independents. The Republican route is a harder route. You have to win that whole East Coast. They start off with a certain number, whether you like it or not. That's the way it is. The welfare, the civil service, the unions. Now, I actually think the unions are coming with me. When I say the unions, the workers, the people within those unions. I could say that the United Auto Workers has done a terrible job at the top, and I'm going to get far more votes than she's going to get. I think a lot of the unions are voting for me, and they did last time. They did both times. What I say is this: we need a safe country. We need a wealthy country. We need a country that's going to take care of its people. We need great schooling. We need great military. We need everything. Everything is broken now. I rebuilt the military. They left $85 billion of it in Afghanistan in the most embarrassing day. I mean, as an example, they didn't talk about Afghanistan last night. Why didn't they talk about it? It's the single most embarrassing day in the history of our country. We're going to have a country that's run with strong borders and pure, beautiful elections. We're going to be energy dominant, not just independent. We're going to dominate in energy. We have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country, including Saudi Arabia and Russia. We'll be doubling and tripling them up, and we're going to start paying down debt. We owe $35 trillion, okay, which she also didn't mention. We'll be paying down debt. We're going to make America great again. And I created the greatest economy in the history of our country. Just prior to COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history. Then we had to go back, and we had to be careful, because we would have ended up in 1929. And then they came in, and they spent money like a bunch of really foolish people, and it created tremendous inflation. I had no inflation. I had almost just about perfect, but almost no inflation during the entire term. And then inflation went to record numbers. And they say 21%, but it's much more than that. They don't include numbers. And yesterday you saw something else, Phil. They created 818,000 jobs that were fake jobs. They did that because they thought they'd have that before the election. They turned out to be fake. They had a whistleblower, a leaker, that said, no, it's wrong, in Department of Labor. And 818, almost 1 million jobs are fake. They created, and then they created crimes too. They said the crime stats were so good by the FBI. And you know what happened? They didn't include certain areas little areas like Chicago, like other cities that are crime-ridden. And that was done by the FBI in order to make the crime numbers look better. So we're going to turn this country around. The country's very sick right now. It's very sick. We're going to turn it around. We're going to make America great again, and we're going to do it rather rapidly. But we're stuck with a problem now that's a big problem. We have millions of criminals that have been allowed into our country.
Well, when I talk to voters, and I've looked at polls that said this, Rasmussen looks at these, he's on Merritt Street, they say they're concerned about affordability. They need to be able to afford tennis shoes for their kids.
Yep.
Mom that has 3 boys in school, and she says, like, their feet grow during the night. I need to buy tennis shoes, for the kids every couple of weeks.
Inflation has killed them.
And they're saying they're printing money so fast that the dollars I have buy less because they're printing money so fast. They say, second, they're worried about safety and security, primarily the border.
Yep.
That's an important thing for them. They talk about that. They say they're concerned about abortion, and that's a distant third, but it's third.
And on that one, I've done a great favor, and I don't want to go over the whole thing because you don't have enough time, but I've brought that into a land where everybody can finally, after 52 years, get along. They're taking votes in various states right now, and some are coming out in a very liberal way, much different, like Ohio and Kansas, but we've done an amazing thing there, and that's a much softer issue than it was a little while ago. But this has been an issue, abortion's been an issue. Roe v. Wade, for 52 years they've tried to get it back into the states, and I got it back into the states. That means Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, and all legal scholars. It was always wrong being in the federal government. I got it out, back in the states, and now there's voting taking place. And I believe in exceptions, like Ronald Reagan believed in exceptions, very important for life of the mother, rape, incest. But I will tell you, that's something it's very interesting how it's working out. It had to be done because it was ripping our country apart.
So RFK Jr. has offered his support to you and your campaign.
It's with a sense of victory and not defeat that I'm suspending my campaign activities. I met again with President Trump and his family members. I was surprised to discover that we are aligned on many key issues. In those meetings, he suggested that we join forces as a unity party.
How do you feel about that?
I'm very honored by it. He's a very smart guy, a different kind of a guy, but very smart, loves our country, has some, I think, very good views on a lot of different things. And I've known him for a long time. We've been somewhat friendly, actually. And I think he's going to be a great asset. I think he adds a lot to the election. He's got a good following, tremendous following. I think he adds a lot to the election, and I think he adds a lot to if we win. I mean, he's got some very interesting ideas and good ideas. I think he'll be a fantastic and influential person in terms of getting this country back on track. I think if we win, I think he can be very valuable to the country, and I think he can also help us build up the margins. You were talking about votes. Some people say this could be a landslide too. They could say it would be a landslide. And it's not going to be a landslide on their side. It could be a landslide on our side. It won't be a landslide on their side. It should be a landslide because she will destroy the country. She's going to destroy the country. Look at the job she did at the border. She was a border czar. Just look at the job. In history, there's never been a mess like that. And now they have their standard line. They're great for misinformation. She's got a standard line. We did a wonderful job at the border. And she'll say it 100 times, 1,000 times. And a lot of people, they're driving cabs, they're accountants, they're doctors. They're not into politics like you are. I know how much you are. The fact is, they'll say it 100 times and they think that maybe people will start to believe what she's done to this country. And this is beyond Biden, because she was in charge of the border.
Of course.
And that's the way she'll run the country.
Will he have a role in your administration? He's a very experienced trial lawyer.
He is.
He's tried a lot of large cases, so, and a lot of it environmental. So I thought, he might play a role environmentally. He might play a role as Attorney General. There's a lot of things he could offer to the administration.
That's true. No, he's a very smart guy.
But you welcome him.
I do.
You welcome his support.
Well, number one, I've known him a long time,
Right.
and I've always had a good relationship. I mean, we're sort of on opposite sides of some issues, but I've always had a good relationship with him, and I'm very honored by his support.
Well, I've spoken to him about you in the past, and he's always spoken of you with a great deal of respect. Even though you guys have been campaigning against each other, he's always spoken of you with a great deal of respect. So it's not surprising to me that he supports you. So that wasn't a surprise to me.
Well, one thing he said to me, and he said the same thing that I say to everybody, November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. I believe that.
Yeah. I think there hasn't been an election like this for generations, to be sure.